I'm not supposed to hypnotize anyone today, but if anyone does succumb to my voice, I just want you to know that as you sink into your chair or maybe start to float off somewhere, it's all good. There's no problem with that. And I can say this with confidence because I'm very heavily insured, so there's no problem. Why hypnosis? Well, it's a long story, but I'll make it very, very short. In 1993, I was very seriously injured in a hockey game. And for 5 years after that, I was on an endless trip trying to find relief for the terrible pain that I was in. I went to a lot of doctors, a lot of clinics, a lot of hospitals, took tons of pain medications, one of which I became addicted to. I was frozen from the waist down with spinal epidurals 5 times to try to cool off the pain. And I even went to the States twice to be checked by specialists there, all to no avail. And all this time, of course, friends and relatives are constantly giving me advice, try this, try that, try this, try that. So as a joke, I'd always number the suggestions. That's number 111, I heard that one already, it's 126, et cetera, et cetera. And this went on for years and years and years. One day, it became a milestone day in my life, a friend of mine said, suggestion 654, why don't you try hypnosis? So I suppose I rolled my eyes and told him I wasn't interested like most people do, because most people don't understand the power of hypnosis, and neither did I. But about a month later, I hadn't gotten any further with my problem, so I said, what the heck? And I went. And I can only tell you I'm standing here today in front of you because I went. And hypnosis actually saved my life. But how? This is what was explained to me. Somewhere in that 5-year journey looking for relief of the pain, the problem had actually healed itself. That's what the doctors were telling me. That's what all the test results showed. There was no doubt that the injury had healed. But my subconscious mind had become so used to experiencing pain every day that that's what it did. It just turned on the pain every day, and I went about my business as though that were normal for me. So what the hypnotist did, to use an oversimplification, is he reprogrammed me to realize that the absence of pain is the normal for me. And I'm telling you, I haven't had a twinge or a pain from the area of the injury since 1999. That's a bit of my history. The history of hypnosis is considerably longer than mine, 3,000 years longer to be exact, but don't worry, I'm not going to bring you through the whole thing. I will start at the very beginning, and then I'll switch to the very end. The very beginning is the ancient Greeks and Egyptians were the first civilizations to feel that there may be something other than the wakeful mind. They didn't know what it was, but they knew there was something. They actually built very large emporiums and stadiums where people would come, sleep, dream, report their dreams to interpreters in the morning, and the interpreters, having interpreted the dreams and trying to figure out what the problem was, would make suggestions to them on how to go about solving their problems. Not very scientific by today's standards, but perfectly acceptable by the standards then. Flash forward 3,000 years, and I'll tell you that there are some very, very famous people who advanced the cause of hypnosis. I'm sure you've all heard of Anton Mesmer, from where we get the name or the word mesmerize. There was Ivan Pavlov and his dogs, the experiments with the salivation of the dogs, Sigmund Freud himself, and John Braid, who's considered the father of modern hypnosis, and first coined the word hypnosis in 1941. Hypnos, by the way, means sleep in Greek. Why is my talk entitled Hypnosis, the Universe Within? Well, over the time, and I was listening to all my clients as they came in every day, and I began to realize that there's just an endless amount of combinations and permutations that the human mind seems to be capable of. Connections that you should make, connections that you shouldn't make. It's endless. And the only thing I can ever think of that would come even close to it is the universe. I see every subconscious mind as consisting of trillions and trillions of tiny little dots like stars. Each one of those dots or stars is a memory or a thought or an event, something that happened to you in your life. Many of them are connected as they should be, but some become disconnected or connected incorrectly to something they shouldn't be connected to, and that's when people come to see me. When I do my talks, I always ask the question, have you ever been hypnotized? And people normally lift their hands. I say about 10, maybe 50% of the audience lifts their hands. But the truth of the matter is, everybody's been hypnotized. You've hypnotized yourself, you just don't know it. And I'll give you a couple of examples. For those of you who drive, when you're driving your car and you get to where you're going but don't remember 5 or 10 minutes of your trip because your conscious mind was so deeply involved in some problem or issue you're thinking about, who was driving the car? You don't even remember you don't even remember the trip. Yet you got where you were going, you stopped at the stop signs, you obeyed all the laws, you didn't run over anybody that you're aware of, and here you are at your destination. That's what hypnosis is. Hypnosis occurs when the conscious mind is diverted by something with all of its intensity. 100% of the conscious mind goes somewhere, and the subconscious mind comes to the fore, and it's accessible to me to program. So the answer is yes, everyone's been hypnotized. For those of you who don't drive, it's very, very much like being immersed in a really great book or a great movie, or just very, very profound daydreaming. Sometimes when you get really lost in a thought. That's what hypnosis feels like. I'm going to tell you a couple of cases that I've dealt with not so long ago, because I want you to realize the possible connections that are made in the mind that you normally think wouldn't be made. These are the stars I was talking about previously, or all the dots, all the data, and the trillions and trillions of possible combinations there are. One client, Andrew, is a retired musician. He's in his 70s, and he has a fear of or an illogical reaction to certain sounds. Now, the sound that affects Andrew so terribly, he actually flies into an uncontrollable rage, is the sound of loud chewing. Just, that's all it takes. As a matter of fact, I tested him under hypnosis, and when I made the sound that I just made myself, he turned very, very red and his whole body was shaking. So what to do with him? It doesn't sound like that big a problem, but just think about it. He couldn't go out. He hadn't gone out for almost 20 years. Couldn't go to the grocery store, couldn't go to a movie, restaurant, anywhere. Everyone chews. Someone behind him in the grocery store in line at the checkout chewing gum, fly into a rage, can't risk it. So what to do? Well, he was a musician. He loved to compose music. So what I did was, I took that talent that he has of focusing only on bad sounds, or sounds that annoyed him, and I used that same focus to focus not on a bad sound, but I had him concentrate his subconscious mind 1,000%, if you want to put it that way, on composing a song whenever he was annoyed by a sound that he heard, to mask that bad sound. But of course, he was home, he wasn't going out. So I had him try it in grocery stores, at Walmart, places like this where he could leave if it wasn't working. So every time he would begin to hear a sound that would put him into the rage, and he felt that cascading effect of the rage, he composed a song in his mind instead. He did that for 3 weeks. I saw him again for a 4th session, and I removed even the songwriting after he reported to me that it seemed to be working. He was able to go out for an hour or 2 at a time. I removed the songwriting, and that's what did it. The sounds that had so irritated him previously had become totally irrelevant to him, and he's fine today. Another interesting one is a terrifying a fear of stairs. It's called bathnophobia. Woman, Mary, came to see me, And it wasn't just one direction, it was both directions. She was afraid of climbing stairs or going downstairs. So it wasn't the result of a fall or anything like that. Otherwise, it only would have been the down direction. But she was terrified of stairs, period. The strange thing about this, or stranger thing about this, is that she wasn't afraid of escalators. She can get on a mile-high escalator all day long, go up and down, it wouldn't bother her. But why? In this particular case, I never did find out why. Too many connections, too many interconnections, too many incorrect wires connected to have created this problem in the first place. But it was irrelevant anyway, because I convinced her subconscious mind that escalators and stairs are simply permutations of one another. Stairs are a type of escalator, but she provides the power to the stairs rather than the escalator providing the power to her. After a month of therapy with me, she doesn't have any problem with stairs anymore. Now, Larry is another case. He called me in November because he has a terrible, terrible problem with time management and procrastination. I'd like to help him. I know I can, but I haven't met him yet because he's canceled 4 times. But I don't want you to think that hypnosis works only on phobias or pain, as in my case. There are a great many things that hypnosis helps with. I've listed some of them here. I see people for these issues day in and day out, every day. They're very, very serious, and they have a great consequence and profound effect on people's lives. And I take great pride in being able to help them with it. In closing, I'd like to say that I'm truly honored and privileged that people who are really strangers to me when we meet trust me enough to go into their innermost thoughts, their innermost universes, so to speak. And I think that trust is something that I would never give up, even for all the stars in the universe up there. Thank you.